Hi and welcome to Rossi Audio again. Another video with two reviews, in fact. The first review that I'm going to do for you guys is this realistic SA-155 integrated stereo amplifier up here. This is one little handy thing, okay? The only reason I got it was because I stopped by my local thrift store and I saw it on the shelves. And I had a price tag of $12 on it, and this thrift store do 40% on all tagged prices. So on that $12 I got 40% plus tax after that. So I ended up paying somewhere between $7 and $8 for it. And for that price, you know, what the heck, why not? So I brought it home and I did some testing on it. And it surprised me a lot. It really did. It's not a huge amplifier. You know the size. Kind of right off the bat tells you that this is not a power amplifier that will drive any speakers to concert levels. But it's a handy little thing. If you use it as a bedroom setup or even a little kitchen setup, maybe have it on your work desk to drive some small speakers, that's where this one is in handy. But there's another thing to it too, and that's what I'm using it for. Because I buy and sell a lot of speakers. When I buy new speakers, I don't want to hook them up to my already larger setup in my music room or my living room setup. I want to just hook them up to something fast and easy. And I have a miniature DVD player from Denon that I use as source, and I hook it up with this one, and I just connect the speakers and I can check them and see if anything is wrong with them or not. So I use this as a little test amplifier. So what makes this one so great? Well, if we look on the back of it, it has a lot of inputs, not a lot of outputs. It has stereo speaker output, left and right. It is an RCA output for speakers, so you have to have an RCA in one end that goes to bare speakers or banana plugs on the other end. That's the only drawback with it. Inputs, we're talking about phono inputs, CD or tape, and tuner and tape out. That's the main things on the back of it. It also has a grounding spot for your phono. You could choose between ceramics or magnetics. On the front, beside that, the size is pretty handy, so it's a handy little size, doesn't weigh much. On the front we have headphones out, we have CD and tape input, mini jack, so if you have like a Walkman or a mini disc or something like that, or maybe even an iPod or your iPhone or whatever. Has a mono stereo switch, on and on off switch of course. Has a tone controller. It goes from low to high. It has a balance controller. And of course a source controller between your tuner, phono, tape, CD and stuff like that. And of course a volume knob. It does not have remote control, but I don't see that as a big problem. It stands on rubber feet, so it has a little bit of clearing underneath. If you put it on top of something else, it won't make scratches. Remote control, you don't need that on this one. This one is not intended to be put 10-15 feet away from you. This is something that you have within an arm's reach. So I tested it on two different speakers. I didn't test them on any big speakers. First pair of speakers that I tested them on was a two-way system, Vega RE16, and it functioned very well, played very well on those speakers. Those speakers are kind of efficient, but not the most efficient Vega speaker around. So it was okay sound. The other type of speaker that I tested them on was my studio monitors from Toshiba that was made in Denmark. Three-way speaker with a 6-inch peerless and a 3-inch mid, I think it is, 3 or 4, and a 1-inch soft dome VIFA tweeter. And on those speakers it sounded amazing. It was like a hand in glove kind of thing. So if you have small speakers, this amp will do the trick, and it will do the trick as a background music system, or even if you're in your bedroom, if you have some kind of pair of small speakers and maybe a CD player, this will be handy. So that was the first review, okay? The second review is these pair of speakers. These are the Pioneer CS-63DX. They also made them in a model called CS-63. The difference between those two is the amount of drivers and the configuration of the drivers on the baffle. The CS-63DX, as I have here, is the bigger model. When I bought them over the weekend, and I have today tested them on my living room setup here. And I didn't test them for SPL or anything like that, purely sound quality testing. I haven't checked the specs on them yet, but the back of them says 80 watts max. So I think if you run something between 80 and 100 watts, you are probably in the range where you want to be. I have tested them today with a Yamaha integrated amplifier that delivers 20-25 watts per channel or something in that area, and I was pleasantly surprised. I have never been a big or huge Pioneer speaker fan. I have had a few models, ranging from small, newer things to the older stuff. You had the circle speakers that looked circular with this type of grill. I have had a lot of the CS models before, and never been a fan of the sound. So when I bought this, it was purely because I saw them on Facebook Marketplace. The picture was kind of dark and grainy. It wasn't too detailed. You couldn't see very well. So when I texted the lady who was selling them, and I asked her, because when you looked at the picture, you could see kind of like the layout in the front of it, but not in great detail. So just to be sure, I texted her and said, hey, are these Pioneer or Kenwood or Sansui? If so, can you tell me what model they are? And it took about 8 hours before she answered, and she answered me back and she said, hey, they are Pioneer CS-63DX. So what I did then was I went online and I kind of Googled them and researched them to see what they are selling for. The only place that I could find them for sale was in fact on eBay. I didn't find any on Craigslist, no one on Letgo or OfferUp. So eBay was my only choice where I could find the speakers for sale. They range from about $500 up to about $1,200 for the pair. Some of them are with shipping, with free shipping, and some of them are plus shipping, and a few of them are local pickup only. These are not in the greatest condition when it comes to cosmetics or cabinet wise. They have been painted, so and the painted finish is kind of like sloppy, and it's scratched here and there, especially on the top and the bottoms. Have some nicks on the corners, on the edges, on the back. So it's not in the greatest condition cosmetically. But it looks like it's made from 3/4 inch or maybe even an inch of plywood. It looks, I don't know if it's solid wood or plywood. It's hard to say because it's painted. But this is repairable. I don't worry about this finish at all. It can be stripped, the paint can be stripped, the cabinet can be sanded, maybe even repurposed with new veneer, stuff like that. So I don't pay too much attention to that. What matter the most is the drivers inside, that they all work. Because if you're going to buy these drivers on eBay separately, think about it, there's 6 drivers in each speaker. So if you want to buy all the drivers separately, it's going to cost you $300 or $400 when you're done, maybe even more. So if one of the drivers are out, you are looking at probably $40 to $60 for the woofer, somewhere in the $25 to $40 range from the mid-ranges each, and probably the same for the tweeters. And then of course you have to multiply that by 2 because you have 2 speakers. So I wanted to test them and see if they worked, and they did. Like I said, I bought them and I paid $35 for them. No, she wanted $35, but I got them for $30. And I even asked her if I got it for $25, but she said let's meet in the middle. So we met in the middle, and for that investment, I'm pretty happy, because even if they didn't work, and let's say if only the woofers work, because in these there is a 15-inch woofer, I could sell them and double my money. So, but they work. All the drivers works, and that was one thing in her ad. It said this was the only thing saying in her ad. 1 pair of loud speakers, and she had emphasized on loud, for sale. That was all that it said. So worst case scenario, I just keep them the way they are, or I just sell them the way they are, or I redo them and I put them up for sale. However, selling these are probably easy because there are Pioneer fans out there, but shipping of these is going to be a hassle. These are about 60 to 65 pounds each, and that is dead weight. That is without the packing material, without boxes and anything like that. So when you're done, and when you're probably looking, you put them on a scale after they're packed properly, and no sloppy packing, but proper packing, we're probably looking at 55 to, well, 60, 65 pounds each without the packing. You probably have to add another, I was going to say 50, but that's a little bit much, but probably another 40, 45 pounds in packing material. So you're looking at almost doubling the weight of these speakers. And then you kind of like step into a territory of shipping where USPS is ruled out. And let's say you are operating between 80 and 90 pounds in shipping weight for each speaker. You are looking at FedEx, which can do ground up to 110 pounds. Or you could do FedEx regular shipping, and they do 70 pounds. So you're probably over that already, so that is excluded. And UPS, we all know, is horrendously expensive when it comes to the weight. So I don't ship via UPS because it costs more than the others. So shipping these is a hassle. So selling these are not easy in that matter, but it's easy to sell them for what they are, for the pair of speakers they are. But you have to find a way to ship them. And it's going to cost a good chunk of money. We're talking probably about, for each speaker, if I'm going to sell them on eBay, I probably have to list them one by one listing for one and another listing for the other, and do separate shipping charges, because we're looking at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 to $180 in shipping per speaker with FedEx and ground. FedEx freight, for some reason, is more expensive than ground, and shipping these with freight, it's possible to use maybe like Roadrunner or something like that, but it's still going to cost you quite a bit. And as a seller, I'm not willing to take that cost or that burden, so that will fall onto the buyer. So, okay, let's see. So that's like the one side thing about these speakers. If you want to sell them, it's going to be tricky, okay? The sound, okay. I tested them with Yamaha integrated stereo amplifier, and it has about 25 watts per channel. Like I said, I did not test it to achieve SPL or concert level. I just wanted to hear how they sounded with that amplifier, because that amplifier is right now hooked up to my server in Vegas, just because I didn't want to bring one of my bigger PA amplifier into my living room. So I compared them to that, and I also hooked up a pair of L-Techs and a pair of JBLs. to kind of have a reference to work up against. So how does this Pioneer CS-63DX sound? Well, let me put it like this. I did not expect much from them, just because I've had Pioneers in the past and I wasn't too fond of the sound, or I didn't like the sound too much. But those were Pioneers with smaller drivers, like 10-inch and 12-inch and 8-inch. And they were like 2-ways and 3-ways. Yes, I have had Pioneer HPM 100, HPM 60. I didn't care for the sound. These, however, they're not a beast. They're not your typical bass pounding speaker. The lower end in this speaker is kind of laid back. It's not a heart pounding speaker like compared to my Serum Vegas and JBLs. The mids are fairly good. I wouldn't say they're good. They're very detailed. The tweeters are very crisp, very straightforward without becoming overbearing or creating listening fatigue. The same with the mids, they don't create a lot of listening fatigue. And it's, when we're talking listening fatigue, it's in the upper register that you get that. You don't get that much listening fatigue from the bass and the lower frequency area. So from the lower bottom, from the 15-inch, from the frequency range that can play and that it does in this speaker, and all the way up, I want to say that the sound was very balanced. It was a very balanced sound. It wasn't top heavy on the tweeters, it wasn't heavy on the mids, it wasn't too heavy on the bass. So I liked the overall homogen, or the details that was blending with each other. The total picture was pretty neutral, and it mixed very well. So it was a good sounding speaker in that way. When that is said, I like to have a little bit more bass in my speakers. So that's what I'm maybe missing a little bit in these, is a little bit more bass. But I think these will work for most people who are listening to a lot of music that is not bass heavy or very oriented down towards the bass. So as an all-rounder, as an overall speaker system, most people will accept the sound from these as good. I have to say that if I was going to categorize them or give them like a rating from 1 to 10, where 10 is the best, I say that these land about on a 6.5 to 7. Somewhere in that area. Have I heard better speakers overall? Yes. Have I heard better speakers that can do things better in the individual frequency areas? Yes. But have I heard worse speakers? Oh yes. Oh yes. I find these speakers to be very pleasant. They are. And one of the reasons why they don't produce that much bass, or are not focused on the bass heavy notes, or maybe go as deep and punch as hard as we want to, as I want to, lays in two factors. One factor is, and here comes this custom speaker builder in me, the way the cabinet is constructed. It has a fair volume, not great, not little, fair. If you look at the front here, where the front baffle, where it looks like the front baffle would be, it is not. It is about 1.5 inches in from the front of the speaker that you see here now until where the baffle is. So about 1.5 inches, because it goes in here. So there's about 1.5 inches. So that means it's right in here somewhere. The total depth of this cabinet from front to back, the way you see it now, is about 13 plus inches. If you take away 1.5, you're down to about 11 point something. So 11.5, let's say 11.5 inches deep from the baffle to the back plate is not enough room for a 15-inch to do the work. The bigger the driver is, well, small drivers too need room. The bigger the driver is and the more bass you want, the deeper you want the cabinet to be behind the bass driver or the woofer, because that creates volume and you're moving air. So if they had been deeper, let's say maybe 5 inches deeper, you would have gotten a bit more bass from these speakers. But this was a typical design for the 70s. Most 70s speakers was very shallow like this. They are fairly wide and they're fairly high. So they're big speakers. Don't get me wrong, they're big speakers. They're heavy as hell. Another factor that make these a little bit on the gentle side on the bass is that it is a sealed cabinet. It doesn't have any bass ports or flares or whatever. So sealed cabinet combined with a very shallow cabinet makes it having less bass. But when that is said, you can notice the bass in it, but not the way I want it. I want a little bit more powerful bass. I want the bass to be more in my face. I want to feel it. You can feel it here too, but it's limited. You have some controllers on the back for the high and the mids. It goes from normal to decrease to increase. So there's 3 settings on that. You have 2 regular speaker connectors. There are push ones. I have taken them out for now because I'm going to replace them with banana terminals that are gold plated. I hate those old plastic shit that you push. On one speaker they were kind of like bent and all that stuff, so they had to be changed out anyway. And it also has a 3/4 jack input here, like the guitar style jack plug. So the cabinet itself is good. I mean, it's a very solid cabinet, heavy cabinet. It stands up good against vibrations. Standing waves in these, I kind of expect that there will be some. They don't have any front to back support. They don't have any support from side to side or from top to bottom. So you have where they are joint is where you have the support. They, however, have some small corner braces, but those are so small and so insignificant. They don't do much. Let's put it like that. So there's like one here and one here. There's 2 on each side, and then of course the back plate and the baffle front plate is screwed to, I think it's 1 by 1 on the inside here. That goes like a frame on the back and the front. So that's all the bracing that you got. There is no external or extra bracing from front to back, side to side, top to bottom. These won't see much power, so maybe it's not that important. But I mean, 80 to 100 watts is not that much. But still, when the cabinet gets this size, and when you get a baffle that is this big, when the baffle becomes this big, it's going to flex no matter what. So you want to have some type of a bracing inside. I don't know if they came with damping inside or not, because these have no damping material inside whatsoever. It's just a hollow space, and none of the walls are padded. So I'm not sure if that was original from the factory or not, because like I said, this is the first time I have these exact speakers. Sound wise, like I said, 6.5 to 7, and a little bit on the gentle side on the bass. Very nice mid-range and a high crisp detailed tweeters. Overall, very balanced speaker, very detailed speaker. What else can you expect? I mean, it's a typical 70s speaker. That was the sound they went for back then, except for a couple of companies. When we talk about looks, like I said, these have been painted, so the finish on these are not original. It's normally lighter. It's the same color as the mesh on the front here. These has one of the speakers. This one is complete and have no damages. It's missing one of these black ties that you have here. This one has a little. One of the things on the mesh here is broken, but that I can glue back together, and that's about it. This one has slid up, so this one has come back down here to keep the mesh together. The logos are still intact. The mesh, the fabric behind the mesh is still original and intact in that original green, olive green color. So the plans for these are, I don't know. I don't know what the plans for these are yet. Most likely will they end up for sale. Most likely on eBay. I hate selling speakers and stereo on Craigslist because there's so many idiots. Not that there's no idiots on eBay. There's a lot of them there too, but it's a little bit more better to control it and stuff like that. I'm not going to put them on offer up or let go. I hate those two apps. I like to buy there, but I don't like to sell there. So we had 2 reviews today, so let's recap. Realistic SA-155. Great little amp if you use it for the right purposes. I can absolutely recommend it. And they sell on eBay for anywhere between, I think I've seen them for between $12 and $45. They range. And they come in different names. They don't only come in, and they look the same. They're the same type of amplifier, but with different names. So this is a shelf product. It was a shelf product back in the day. The one I have here is a Realistic. You can get them in Optimuses too. So it comes as Optimus and Realistic, and I've seen them as 2 others, but I can't remember the names of them. But so they come in 4 different brands, but they look the same. They're just exactly the same, but with different names. I absolutely can recommend it. Just for being so handy, I'll give it an 8 for handy, and for the equipment it has, I give it a 6.5, 7 for the sound, and for the power I give it about 4. It lacks power. If I was going to guess, I haven't looked it up yet, but I probably guess that it's between 15 watts per channel and up to about 25, somewhere between 15 and 25. And this one does not kind of like give you an impression that it has more power than that. That's what it got. Speakers, would I recommend them? Yes. If you are looking for a good all-round speaker and you don't play a lot of disco or techno or trance or anything like that, or you don't play a lot of heavy metal or hard rock, but you listen more to soft rock, like Creedence, Dire Straits, stuff like that. Maybe you listen to Adele or something like that, then these are great speakers. I think they would work also good on jazz and maybe some blues. I don't know how they would work on classical music, because classical music goes fairly deep. So maybe they have some limits there. But would I recommend them as an overall speaker? Yes. Do they compete with a lot of the other 15-inch models on the market, such as the Certain Vegas, Altex, JBLs, Klipsch, stuff like that? In the mid-range, upper bass, upper woofer, and mid-range and tweeter, yes, they can compete fairly well. In the lower register area, let's say below 120 hertz, not so much. But overall, yes. they are overall good speakers. Very neutral, very balanced, and very detailed. Like I said, the only drawback with them is that they lack a little bit of in the bass area. So that was the 2 reviews that I had for you today. I'm probably going to try and refinish these before I sell them, if I have the time. If not, I'm just going to sell them the way they are, and someone else can strip the paint off and maybe sand it down and restain them. Because I think you can come a long way with just doing that. Of course, if you want to do the whole shebang, you can strip the paints and maybe sand them down a little bit and put some body fill around them to sharpen up the corners and re-veneer. That's also a possibility. But I think I'm going to just leave them the way they are and use them for what they are, or sell them for what they are. This one I will not sell because this is my little test amplifier for when I buy speakers. So that one I will keep. So I hope you got some feedback on the speakers, because those are the most important review that I did today. This amplifier is not for everyone. These speakers are not for everyone, but these will fit more people than what this one will do. So this one has a greater purpose for more people than this amp. So that's about it, guys. I'll try and have some more videos coming out not too far into the future. I'm going to be pretty busy the next few weeks and have a big launch to come right around Christmas and New Year, and I'll see you guys in another video soon. Okay, take care.